Hey there everybody, it's Halloween time again. This year I'm dressing up as a dude who still doesn't have a girlfriend yet. As you can see, nothing has changed. There are a lot of things that people normally think of when thinking of Halloween, but little old ladies are not one of them. In fact, little old ladies are probably the exact opposite of what you would think of, because the only scary old lady I know is Boobaba. But there's a Halloween book called The Little Old Lady Who Wasn't Afraid of Anything. And I'm ashamed to say that it's probably not only the reason why I'm literate, but it's also my favorite book of all time. So sit down, and I'm going to tell you the story of this really silly old lady so you can see why I like this book so much. So we fade in to see this little old lady who lives in a cottage in the middle of the woods, probably in either the northern Midwest or New England. Now this old lady isn't afraid of anything, so she decides one afternoon to go into the woods next to her house and go to forage. And so far I'm already liking this main character. She sounds like me, except I'm not a lady or old, and I'm afraid of stuff, and also I don't live in an estate that nice. Anyway, by the time she gets the herbs and stuff, it's already nighttime, and I guess she's got a pretty far walk ahead, so she begins to walk home. But as she's walking, she sees two really big shoes that aren't connected to a person, and both of those shoes are moving. And I already have a few questions. Like, why is there no person in these shoes? A person is necessary for shoes to be able to move. Also, who has feet that big? Did Bigfoot finally get a pair of shoes? Because I think that these shoes are actually a foot long, and I don't know anyone with foot-long feet. Now, a normal person in this situation probably would have run away, because I'm 90% sure that a shoe the size of a small dog can do some decent damage. But this old lady simply states that she's not afraid of the shoes and merrily walks past them, and the shoes follow her. Further up the path though, her merry walking is interrupted because in front of her is a pair of floating pants. Now if I see my pair of pants in the middle of the woods, I'm already getting pretty worried. If I see a stranger's pants in the middle of the woods, I'm even more worried because I don't know what was done in those pants. But if I see strangers' pants that are floating in the woods, I'm probably out of commission. But I guess this old lady is more fearless than me because she tells the pants to get lost and keeps walking past them, so the pants join the shoes in following her. She keeps walking until she hits an area with a floating white shirt, and I'm just wondering how this floating white shirt is so clean. I mean, it's in a forest which basically has every stain known to mankind in it. Also, I don't think that there are any washing machines in the forest, and you expect me to believe this thing has no stains? Heck, I only own 2 white shirts because I can't even keep the dark ones stainless, especially during pasta night. But this old lady sees the floating stainless shirt and decides it's not scary, so she walks past it and the shirt joins the friend zone clothes and stalking her from behind. And I would just like to mention that even though she's got an entire floating closet behind her, she's only doing a brisk walk at this point. I don't know about you, but if I have 3 floating garments of clothes behind me, I would at least be skipping. Anyway, next she stopped by a floating hat and a floating pair of gloves. Now at this point, I'm just starting to wonder if the floating clothes are not just a coincidence. I mean, I don't know about you, but living in Michigan, which borders Ohio, I tend to see floating clothes a lot. But in this case, you basically have all the components to a person chilling together following this old lady in an organized fashion. I'm just saying, what if this is like her dead husband trying to contact her? John, is that you? Anyway, she says she's not afraid of the gloves or hat, and they join the clothes in following her, and I guess at this point she decides it's about time to actually pick up the pace a bit, which I think is a good idea considering the Meyer clothes department is following her. Now at this point, this old lady is speed walking through the woods with 5 floating garments following her, probably wondering what floating clothes is going to be next. But apparently the next floating thing isn't clothes because she looks in a tree and there's a jack-o'-lantern yelling boo at her. And I guess this is the straw that breaks the camel's back because she starts running to her house. Personally, I would have started running around the pair of pants, but that's besides the point. So she gets inside of her house and slams the door. And at this point, personally, I would have gone onto my computer, put my current house up for sale, and moved to a place where I'm not worried about getting jumped by a bunch of clothes in the forest. But instead, she just sits in her chair until she hears a knock at the door. Now, when one has recently been chased by someone or something in the woods, and then hears a knock at the door, common sense should say not to open it, because I don't think UPS delivers this deep into the woods. But this old lady not only lacks fear, but also apparently common sense, so she opens up the door and surprise, surprise, it's the floating things. So she asks them what they want, and apparently they want to scare her, but she says she can't be scared. So they play the sympathy card and ask what's to become of them. And it turns out what's to become of them is that they are attached to a piece of wood and used as a moving sentient scarecrow. What's the moral of the story, you ask? I really don't know. Thanks for watching.